celebrating its 100th season. The National Football League has a rich tradition and history, and News 10 NBC's Rich Donnelly shares a story on how that history was preserved with the help of two former owners with ties to Western New York.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, houses the history of professional football in America.
They recreate their first game in 1920.
Right down to the printed minutes of the original meeting to form what is now the NFL. And Rochester Jefferson's owner, Leo Lyons, made sure that the Flower City would be part of the new league.
I think Leo had a large influence on the game, especially early on, and I think that came from his passion for the game of football.
John Kendall is the director of archives at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and has documented the importance of Leo Lyons' involvement with the history of the NFL.
Leo was integral in being involved with the league from an early, standpoint, and having his hand in helping make some of those early decisions that would lead the league to where it is today.
The Jeffersons folded less than 10 years into the formation of the NFL, but Leo Lyons stayed involved in professional football. And pillars of the game, like Vince Lombardi, came to his home in Rochester to hear his opinions about the game.
What was his stature in the league even 30 years after his franchise was defunct?
If you are going to dedicate your life to pro football and the National Football League like a Vince Lombardi would, why not know everything about the history? And when you want to know all the history of the league going back, who did you go to? Well, you went to the NFL's official historian, and that was Leo Lyons.
And in recent years, the league's history was saved by another important figure in Western New York sports. In 2011, 2 years after he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Bills owner Ralph Wilson Jr. donated more than $2 million to fund a preservation center at the Hall of Fame. Today, the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center is a climate-controlled environment that houses more than 40 million documents and more than 6 million pictures related to the history of the NFL.
He always was a supporter of preserving the history of the game, very similar to Leo Lyons, being able to continue to share the story of professional football.
Their NFL teams never faced each other, but the work that was started by Leo Lyons and continued by Ralph Wilson kept the history of the league alive.
We're honoring the heroes by preserving their legacies through their artifacts and documents, and then through their stories, we're able to promote the positive values that the game teaches: the commitment, the integrity, the courage, the respect, the excellence.
They owned NFL teams in Rochester and Buffalo.
Like, we have a letter from...
And their work has preserved the history of the NFL for generations to come.
That was Rich Donnelly reporting. The generosity of Ralph Wilson Jr. continues long after his passing in 2014. The Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation funds many charitable efforts in Western New York, specifically those that promote healthy lifestyles and youth sports.